Have you ever wondered how Anakin Skywalker was able to transform himself into a Force ghost, especially within such a limited amount of time? The chapter Brotherhood, in 40 stories celebrating 40 years of Return of the Jedi, explains how he was able to do so. Slight warning that this video will feature some longer dialogue parts than normal with my videos, but I think they are super important to the story and I really enjoyed them. Some parts of this have been told in my own words and others have been read directly from the book, as I believe that is the only way to do them justice. Without further delay, let's get into the video. It's quite fitting that the chapter is written by Mike Chen, entitled Brotherhood, seen as he authored the canon novel Brotherhood, where the focus was Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship in the Clone Wars. The chapter begins by detailing the mutilated half-machine body of Darth Vader's last moments, as he fought for one, possibly two, more final breaths. His fiery rage and consuming fear subsided, giving way to the most unexpected thing, a spark, a single flame ignited. From this, words began to form, although it was a struggle as his organs were dying and the cybernetic implants were failing. The words eventually found life as the redeemed Anakin Skywalker gave one final push to say some of the, if not the, most important words he has ever said. Looking upon his son, Luke, he gasps, "Tell your sister, you were right." With those being his last words, Anakin sank into the void of the Force. In the nothingness, that flame ignited within him. The feeling sent him back to Tatooine bedtime myths his mother Shmi would tell him, telling stories of the Sun Dragon, whose furnace heart was powerful enough to protect anything and everyone it loved. She would always tell Anakin that he was the Sun Dragon. However, years of living in a half-dead state, buried beneath layers of bulky armor and breathing machines, had made him forget that. As he focuses on where he finds himself now, in the endless landscape of nothing, he felt as though he was where he had always been. Fighting against the ocean of the Force, he'd go one way, the Force would pull him another, and as the currents raged around him, the more he fought to be stronger than the Force itself. All of a sudden, everything just snapped into place, and there was a connection beyond time, beyond space, beyond worlds. He couldn't just see, but he could hear, and he could feel. Different moments are presenting themselves to him. The first is his wife, Padme, on her deathbed saying, "I know there's good in him." His first master, Qui-Gon, "He is the chosen one. Train him." Then his apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, "I know Anakin, your vision is flawed." Words and images continue to travel around and through him as he continues to see people important to him. Shmi, Padme, Qui-Gon, Ahsoka, and then Obi-Wan. He was the best star pilot in the galaxy, and a cunning warrior. Taking in the voice, his old master sounded like the Kenobi he had known for years, yet also different. There was a steadiness beneath the pain as he continued, and he was a good friend. When was the last time anyone had called Anakin a friend? Existing within the Force, this brought him calmness, and in response, something strange happened. Throughout the decades, Anakin had been fighting to control the Force itself, causing an aggressive tension that would often lash back in its struggle. The introduction of calmness allowed him to drift. Those raging currents calmed, and Anakin Skywalker just simply existed. A warmth without temperature, an embrace without touch, a belonging despite isolation, a quiet that revealed itself. Anakin had been accompanied by mechanical noises for years, and now, just nothing. Within the peace and quiet, Anakin was left with his thoughts, which revealed one dark truth. So many terrible things had happened throughout the galaxy, and he was the cause. He had brought pain to his apprentice, betrayed his brother, and killed his wife. No, he would not stand for this. He would not accept that the single act of choosing light over dark brought his story to an end. There was so much he had left to undo. With this, the heart his mother would compare to the Sun Dragon roared to life. And even deep within the Force itself couldn't even stop it. A determination grew within Anakin, as he refused to allow things to end this way. This history of destruction, this life of pain, he was prepared to overcome whatever stood in his way. He would not die. It was up to him, the chosen one, to make amends and bring justice to the pain he had unleashed. Anakin. A voice yet not like the others. It wasn't from the past. There were no memories or visions. Instead, it was as though the words were said to him when he was whole in body and spirit as he once was. A powerful Jedi Knight, with his lightsaber drawn, prepared for dozens of battle droids. In fact, it felt just like that, but different. Anakin. That voice. Obi-Wan? The last time he had said that name, it came from fury, guilt, and arrogance. Now, it was a plea. Still trying to be the hero, his old master joked. "There's no HoloNet here to make you a poster boy." "I'm not a hero," Anakin replied. "I've done such terrible things. I've caused suffering across all corners of the galaxy." Anakin felt Mustafar, the fire in his lungs, the burns on his skin, and Obi-Wan's broken face staring down at him. "I have failed you. Taken from you. Taken from the galaxy. From the Jedi." "Obi-Wan," Anakin said quietly, "there's something I never told you. There are many things we keep to ourselves over the course of our lives. Those choices are not the sum of who we are, wisely replied Obi-Wan. Anakin tells him of when he buried his mother on Tatooine, as he can feel himself back there, collapsing to his knees at her grave. I swore I would be powerful enough to save people, and instead, I did the opposite. I spread fire and pain to anyone in my path. Anakin, one person alone cannot burn down a galaxy, or a republic. In Obi-Wan saying this, Anakin could somehow feel his hand upon his shoulder, as he had many times during his younger years. One person may pull a string, one person may light a spark. However, all the pieces don't move into place by themselves. Years upon years compound, one bad choice followed by a good choice, followed by a well-intentioned mistake. The will of the galaxy of people is different from the will of the Force. Their intention, their actions, and those that preyed on them, it is a collective, not preordained, and not the mark of an individual. You do not bear the guilt of the galaxy, only for your own choices. But I made those choices, to kneel to the dark side, to storm the temple, to fight you. With surprisingly little judgment to his voice, Obi-Wan replies, you did. Those belong to you. But so does something else. One moment that led to immense consequences. Obi-Wan, Anakin, I have asked you many times to be patient, and listen. Obi-Wan's laugh provided Anakin with some familiarity. I have one final challenge for you. Do you trust me? Of course Anakin would listen. Obi-Wan was often right, although Anakin would scarcely admit it. All of a sudden, a lone beam of light broke through the endless void. Then another, followed by another, and another. It didn't stop at the space around Anakin. It also pierced himself, as he was brought to some place real, not just a landscape of nothing. Trees and a dense forest surrounded him as the Death Star remained above, with its debris making a gradual descent into the atmosphere. X-Wings flew overhead as the festivities lit up the night sky. Below, silhouettes moved, celebrating their victory, surrounded by the glow of the flames they had started. There was one, however, that stood out, far larger than the others, and watched on by only one person. Anakin not only recognized the helmet there, but he recognized the man that was observing. This was Luke, showing compassion for his fallen father. Having seen past the pain and rage that consumed him, Obi-Wan joins Anakin. When he called out, you answered. You chose him over the Emperor. You chose empathy over power. You chose a future for the galaxy, to break the rule of the Sith. You chose to bring balance. As Anakin watched the flames consume the suit that kept him alive for years, he wondered what his son must be thinking. Not only the galaxy's future, but what was burning in front of him, and the legacy that was attached to it. He is a leader, Obi-Wan said. He is both the present and the future. Do you see? It took a lifetime for you to arrive. From your days on Tatooine, to your life at the temple, to everything beyond that. But now you are here. It is your final lesson. For so long, Anakin had been the one who would just find a way. Anakin watched on as Luke moved with purpose to his next step, his friends. He observes Captain Solo, the man he had tortured and put into carbon freeze, embracing his friends. R2-D2, his loyal friend, now served his son and was a close confidant. C-3PO, the same droid he had built on Tatooine. And Leia, a brave and bold woman. Her face had the structure, the fierceness in the eyes, and the wisdom in the smile that was the perfect mix of her parents. Anakin no longer needed to be the one who would find a way. These others already had, and in doing so had created a bond that made it so clear why they were the particular group to defeat the Emperor and his Death Stars. Anakin watched on as Luke embraced Leia, and in doing so he understood the message that he had been given by so many people, urging him in their own ways. Obi-Wan, Yoda, Ahsoka, his mother, Padme. In the end, it was the only thing Anakin ever needed to do. They are the best of both of you, Obi-Wan said. This is effectively the same message he gives Leia as they reunite and say farewell in the finale of the Kenobi series. Surprising even himself, as they only existed within the Force, Anakin instinctively turned as though Obi-Wan was there. Even more surprising was what appeared in front of him, his old friend, a shimmering glow of the same man he struck down on the Death Star. Obi-Wan looked Anakin over, remarking, "That's new." Anakin looked down, not shocked to see himself in the same shimmering glow as his old master. His body was reformed, with his feet on the solid ground. However, what had caught Obi-Wan's attention were his Jedi robes. They weren't the dark color that he was familiar with. They were the lighter, traditional Jedi robes that so many masters in the Order would wear. Yoda, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and of course, Obi-Wan. I'm as surprised as you are. I didn't choose this. I didn't choose any of this. Well then, old friend. Perhaps they chose you. They both look up to see Luke smiling at them. as Anakin locked eyes with his son, acknowledging things would be different now. They would be better, and continue to get better. Glancing down before looking up again, Anakin watched as his daughter arrived, putting her arms around her brother. A familiar look came across her eyes as she smiled. Just like her mother, she was already planning for the hard work ahead. Anakin recognized it right away. "Theirs will be a long journey," Obi-Wan said. A new voice joined, one that Anakin hadn't heard in a long time. "Oh, their future is Master Yoda?" Anakin didn't ask how or why, but did allow a small thought to ponder whether Qui-Gon Jinn also existed in this space. He probably did. Qui-Gon was never far from him, he just didn't realize it until now. Anakin's children walk away, leaving him in the unfamiliar comfort of acceptance of everything. He asked Obi-Wan if Luke had seen them, to which his old master nods. What about her? She has taken her first steps, but what she does on her journey, that remains her choice. Leia has many gifts beyond the Force. Anakin's sun dragon-like heart roared again, wanting to do more. However, this time he was able to calm it, grounding himself. Luke and Leia, the children of Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, would outlive and grow beyond the legacy of their parents, with strengths and passions balanced by both the experience of the Galactic Civil War and the support of those closest to them. "I have faith in them," finally said Anakin. As though that phrase was the key to the universe, the scene in front of him began to fade, as he felt his physical form fade into the Force. A realization hit him, and at that moment he chose the only thing he had ever needed. It just took one final nudge from his old master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Finally, Anakin Skywalker let go. So there we have it, guys. There are some really good chapters in this book, but this one is definitely my favorite. I get goosebumps every time I read it. Similarities that you may have picked up on between Obi-Wan and Anakin here, and Anakin and Ahsoka in the Ahsoka series. I really hope you enjoyed this video and had a great life day, as well as being prepared for a great New Year's in 2024. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.